We are back. It is Monday. The markets are open. The crypto markets got some bad blood, and Kevin is never, ever, ever getting back together with them. On today's show, we're going to be discussing Taylor Swiftenomics, how it's greater than Bidenomics, how it's going to save us from a recession. Before we get into that and all the news looking forward to this week, please hit that like button, subscribe to our channel. Kevin and I are not financial advisors. Please do your own research for making any buys or sells. We're a couple guys who love following the markets. We love Taylor Swift as well. What can I say? So, Kev, it's Monday. We have so much to talk about, a big week ahead. Very little on the economic data side of things, but a lot of earnings coming out in the middle of this week that are going to move the markets. What are you paying attention to on this Monday?
Obviously crypto just, it's been really interesting since the last week. Thursday was, absolutely cataclysmic event, I think, for a lot of people, both bulls and bears. Very humbling event, as we've seen that we've retraced a good amount since then. We closed within the channel that we were already trading in before the XRP news came out. Seems like there's a lot of euphoria out in the space, right? That's one thing I'm keeping an eye on. I also think that earnings this week is probably my main focus. It's just so many companies that are coming out. We're seeing so many pumps going into their earnings calls. So I'm really excited to see how some of this plays out. Maybe a couple of buy the rumor, sell the news events. Who knows? I think that there's going to be a bit of volatility coming in, but for the most part, it's earnings is my number one priority this week.
Yeah, since we were last on Thursday of last week, we recorded a show in the morning because Kevin was traveling, and then all hell broke loose pretty much as soon as I posted the video to our YouTube page. So we had the news last week on Thursday that a judge said, basically declared that XRP in and of itself is not a security. And that sent not only the price of XRP flying, but of basically every currency flying. We saw ETH break above $2,000. We saw Bitcoin go above 31,000. We saw a lot of altcoins take a pump up, especially the ones that were named in the Coinbase lawsuit and in some of these other lawsuits. So that was pretty crazy. I know, Kevin, you got liquidated from some of your shorts. Unfortunately, you had to close some of them out. So that is rough. I don't think that Kevin or I's near-term opinions on the crypto market has changed really, but this XRP news is very good for, the long term and the potential adoption for crypto in the United States, which is not the end all be all, but it is very important for the long-term health of crypto. Mr. House, Randy, GM, happy to have you with us today. So that's just like a quick little recap on what happened there. As we look to the week ahead, as I mentioned in the top, economic reports, not a whole lot. We're pretty much, we know what's going to happen heading into the Fed meeting. We have some U.S. retail sales data tomorrow morning. That's going to give us a better idea of the health of the consumer. We have housing starts on Wednesday, existing housing sales on Thursday. So that's going to give us a little bit more housing market information. Are people doing more building of new houses? Are existing home sales going up with the current interest rates? I kind of doubt it. And then also initial jobless claims data. So a little bit of insight into the job market, nothing too meaningful. The big part of the week is going to be earnings, which is, I know what you're looking at, Kevin, from what you just said. On Tuesday, we have Bank of America is one of the big ones. Wednesday is the biggest day of the week by far, like by a wide margin. We got Tesla, Netflix, IBM, US Bank. So Wednesday after the market close is going to be probably some chaos in the after hours. I think it's likely that Tesla reports strong earnings based on the fact that a few weeks ago they had that data release of their biggest shipment ever as far as number of cars go. I was telling you before we started, I'm going to be in California this weekend renting a car, and it was a reminder that Tesla signed that big deal to provide a lot of cars for rental services. When I pulled up the cars available, Teslas were the first two that showed right there on the screen. So I think we're going to see strong earnings from Tesla. And I think that, Netflix is just over frothy right now. If we look at the prices today, we're seeing a big move up in the NASDAQ as we speak. It was kind of trading sideways or down a little bit earlier. It's pumped in a pretty nice way. See, Tesla is up 3% on the day. Netflix is up 2%. I think there's a lot of excitement heading into earnings on Wednesday. I don't think it's going to keep this up, at least on the Netflix front. I could see Tesla continue. I mean, Tesla is just what an absolute piss missile this year. My God, ever since it bottomed out, like ever since Kramer went short on it and went bearish on it, it's just been up only. I mean, my God, it's gonna hit $300 here in the not too distant future potentially. I'm not telling you to buy it because I do think that the upside is capped relative to the downside risk personally. But man, if you got in Tesla like $125, like good on you. Like well played. I know our guy Mr. House is feeling good. He bought some Coinbase stock, a while ago when I think back in June when some of the news from the SEC came out. He's on a nice little run there. Congrats, House. But yeah, man. I mean, we keep saying that a lot of the NASDAQ 7 are going to slow down eventually. But I don't know. Maybe we're wrong. Like maybe it's just going to keep going on forever, Kevin.
I don't agree, but I think that it's just I think it'll go on forever on the way down, or at least it'll feel like that. But yeah, it's absolutely insane how much Tesla shot up. And I just looked at the chart right now. I'm like, maybe 314 is where Tesla tops at. Maybe get a double top of, where we were back in August, September of 2022 before we got that massive, what was it, like 1,000 points down for the Dow and other indices back in September of 2022. I think that's when inflation was like almost near 10% or something like that. And they started raising rates like by extreme amounts, like 75s and stuff like that. So, maybe we just get a double top of that. It seems like we're got the momentum to go there, right? Fuck, it's been overbought for so long. It's like, what's 2 or 3 more days overbought to the point where it's at that level? Really nothing, right? But yeah, I think earnings will be really interesting. Maybe earnings take us there. Like maybe I'm wrong and Tesla does a little bit better than I'm anticipating. Again, I think more Netflix is the one that's going to be the one that's going to get hurt before Tesla. Again, I just don't think that a lot of people are similar with Costco. Costco is pretty much checking your ID to make sure that you're an actual member and it's your card. Netflix doing the same thing where if you have a family plan, you have to pay or you have to set your home TV. So you can definitely tell that they're getting a little bit hurt in these economic times. But for the most part, the upside, maybe there's a little bit more upside to these stocks, but I'm not going to be, I'm not the type of person to buy the top before the drop, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I think at some point with Netflix, we're going to see they're going to hit a ceiling as far as number of new users goes, and all the excitement was about the fact that they were cracking down on password sharing. That impact is going to decrease at some point, and in turn, so will their stock price. So could that be soon? Possibly. Now, I want to go into what I really want to discuss today. The headline topic.
Let's do it.
She's number one on the thumbnail, number one in our hearts. It's Taylor Swift and Swiftenomics, baby. I mean, what an absolute. I graduated college, Kevin, with my degree in financial planning in 2009. And if you have told me that 14 years later, I'd be hosting a YouTube show discussing how a pop star was going to help save the economy, I would have told you that you were out of your fucking mind. But here we are.
Yeah, I mean, Taylor Swift is keeping us from the vibe session. You know what I'm saying? It's insane to think that the Fed actually mentioned her, and it was in the Beige Book, right?
So I got a few quotes. So for those who don't know, 8 times a year the Fed releases what's called the Beige Book, and it has every different Fed district has their president kind of puts out a mini State of the Union for how the economy is in that region. And from the Philadelphia Reserve Bank, in the July Beige Book, the last portion of the area on tourism and consumer spending has this excerpt. Despite the slowing recovery in tourism in the region overall, one contact highlighted that May was the strongest month for hotel revenue in Philadelphia since the onset of the pandemic, in large part due to the influx of guests for the Taylor Swift concerts in the city. That is absolutely wild. This comes from this piece of data comes from the Common Sense Institute. The Eras Tour could generate $4.6 billion in total consumer spending in the U.S. alone, larger than the GDP of 35 countries. That is absolutely wild. And this hit close to home for me too, because I'm in Denver. This last weekend, she was here for the concert. I knew quite a few people who were there. I was talking to a buddy of mine on Friday. He was taking his wife, his daughter, and his daughter's friend to the show. He is a Broncos season ticket holder, so he got to buy tickets to Friday and Saturday show at face value, so $200 a piece. He kept the tickets for Saturday night. He sold all of them for Friday night for $1,800 a piece. So with that, he was able to get enough money to cover his family's tickets for the Saturday night show, as well as his entire year of Broncos season tickets, and then some. Like, absolutely incredible. And so, I don't think in and of itself we're going to see, like this 4.6 billion in this grand scheme of things when it comes to the US economy.
Right.
It's a drop in the bucket. Okay. They're exaggerating when they say that Taylor could prevent a recession from happening, but it could delay it a bit. And it could also definitely, people dipped into their savings. They, what savings they had if they were buying these things on the secondary. But what I could see happening is we see, a little bit of a trickle down, and not to say like trickle down economics is a thing, because it's been shown over and again. It's not, but people, going and buying tickets on secondary and transferring that money to someone else who may use it elsewhere. We got people, you got Uber drivers, and you got, bartenders and service employees. Like, there's a lot of ways that this money can move around and be a positive in the short term. I don't think it's going to single-handedly move GDP at all. But if it's notable enough to make it into the Fed beige book, and for the Federal Reserve Bank of Philadelphia to take note of it and comment on it, it's pretty damn interesting.
Yeah, I mean, retail literally pumped stimulus into the market, right? Pretty much what it is. We saw that in 2020 with, the Fed doing it. Now we're seeing a little bit of retail pumping it in themselves. Maybe the federal government's a little bit more equipped to do that and did not hurt them as much, even if the inflation did go to 10%. But it's really insane to see, people people definitely overspent, or they put in a lot more money than they should have, because it's like, oh, it's fucking Taylor Swift. It's the Eras. You don't understand.
Dude.
She's recorded 5 new albums. I've heard the speech a billion times, but
this
they're not
weekend,
wrong.
It was expected that the Taylor Swift show here in Denver was going to lead to more than $200 million in consumer spending.
Yeah.
Just this weekend, which is crazy. And if you look at the duration of the tour, it started March 17th. It ends August 9th. So that it's going to span, the very end of Q1, all of Q2, and then part of Q3. And so, like, if it was all in like Q2, I could see it impacting GDP maybe a little bit, but it's pretty far spread out. So in and of itself, like I said, it's not going to do a whole lot when it comes to moving the GDP numbers around. It could just kind of give people, give some people a little bit extra money that they can go spend elsewhere that could also continue to help some of those numbers.
Yeah, and it comes to travel, right? That's travel's playing a huge part in terms of showing, consumer sentiment. If airlines and fucking hotels and all these places where people are staying are seeing, positive growth, it's gonna help the inflation number, right? Or it's gonna at least help the optics that everything is better than, I think, what we're anticipating. Again, they did pretty deep into their savings probably for a lot of these tickets. Spending for a lot of these hotels, travel. I mean, these things are not cheap, right? I didn't pay for a ticket. I just was working the event, so I was able to see everything. But I can imagine that, $1,800 per ticket is, say, a family of 4. It's a pretty good amount. That's almost
crazy.
Yeah.
European vacation or Taylor Swift concert? Which would you have? I would go ahead and take the European vacation. But you know what? To each their own. If it makes you happy, enjoy it. I hope it was worth it. It looked like people had a great time. It looked like it was a lot of fun. Taylor puts on a hell of a show, but it's, these numbers coming out about it are absolutely wild, but I don't think they're to be overreacted to as well, right? Like, this is not going to just fix everything all at one time.
That being said, neither is Bidenomics. So
it's true.
We're fucked.
It's true. Yeah. I mean, maybe Taylor should be the next president of the Fed, right? Like, she can generate this much money. I mean, maybe it goes straight from Jerome Powell to Taylor Swift.
I think it should be one of us. I think you and me should be like, it'd be like Step Brothers. We just interview together. I'll be behind you.
We're here to fuck shit up.
Exactly. Fucking drop a 20 basis point hike first meeting. Inflation's done in 2 minutes.
Yeah. Step Brother style, we're sitting there getting like interviewed by Maxine Waters, and one of us lets out a high pitched fart or something like that. It's like, oh, that was me. I'll see myself out.
Yeah.
There we are. We reached that point in the show. Okay. Anything else on Swiftenomics you want to discuss? I know it's been a while since we looked at some of the charts, so we can go through some there. We saw crypto break below some key levels here just in the last 30 minutes. What direction do you want to go in now, Kev?
Yeah, let's take a look at everything on the chart side. I'm going to pull up the DXY first just because, last week we closed at a pretty important level. We bounced off of it. So let's see what it's doing here. We're currently at 99.840. So it's definitely broken below, where I wanted it to hold up, which is this 100.845. The good thing is we found some support at 99.663. If I pull up the weekly, I believe that's the 50 or the 200 EMA. That's what it is. So we found some support on the 200 EMA. I anticipate that this week's going to be kind of sideways, especially since we're not getting too much economic data. Again, every time CPI data comes out or anything like that, DXY has just been absolutely dumping. So that's what we saw a lot of these red weeks here. We're just getting data, whether it's PPI, CPI, I don't know, anything that pretty much says that inflation's coming down, dollar's absolutely dropping. I think a lot of people are banning the dollar and we're shorting it too. So maybe that's what we're seeing. But for the most part, we're putting in, lower highs and lower lows. We finally got this lower low here, which kind of made this pattern a little bit easier to see. Because if we just kept trading here, it's a triple bottom, but at the same time, we put in lower highs. So this would have to break at some point. This makes more sense to me now that we're putting in this parallel channel, which is technically a bull flag because we're getting those lower highs and lower lows. We're at a key level of support. We're at the 200 EMA on the weekly. And if we look at the daily, we're completely oversold. It looks like we're ready to make some move to the upside, right? Again, I don't think anything too bad here. I think the important thing would be to get back to this 102.035 level and close above it. That'd be ideal just to show that the dollar still has some strength. Will it take some time? Yeah, maybe. So we'll have to keep an eye on that. But I think it was on the monthly. Yes, the monthly. So I think that the key thing for the monthly, obviously, is to close above that 99.840, which it currently is at. We're extremely oversold in the monthly, but if we stay above this 50 moving average, then, we're still within this parallel channel. This is still valid for it to break to the upside. I think that we're due for a huge push to the upside. I don't know how long it's going to stay oversold. Again, it's the CPI data is the one thing that's been holding us back from the dollar seeing any true appreciation. We did see some, Forex changes. Obviously, there's a lot of things going on with BRICS. I believe it was Saudi Arabia and India that are just settling their trade deals in rupees now. And then Russia and India had called off their trade exchange with rupees. So the dollar kind of like evened out in some regards. It didn't get hit too much by that news, but for the most part, I think that we still need to come down a little bit more on the weekly. Close this weekly above, the 200 EMA, consolidate maybe for, 1 or 2 more weeks. Then maybe we can start to see a push to the upside. Again, the daily, as long as we're in this parallel channel, I'm not too concerned about anything. We're finding some support on that blue line right here. Maybe this goes up a little bit, and that helps us on the weekly stay above this parallel channel and that 50 or 200 moving average on the weekly.
Okay, let's look at crypto. I want to see Bitcoin because now below 30. It had been bouncing back and forth between 30 and 31. Seems like forever, but it's back to 29.9, and then ETH gave up that $1,900 level after being at over 2K on Thursday. So let's go into those two next.
Yeah, definitely. So Bitcoin, obviously, with the XRP news, we can see the green candle, and we saw that we shot up we opened at right around 30,381, and we wicked all the way up to about 31,816. So we didn't get to break 32,000, right? We didn't hit it. We didn't even get close to it, really. We wicked right back down, and we can see the next day we got a bearish engulfing candle where the candle comes down lower than the open after, and we're pretty much retracing all those gains, right? We broke out of the channel and we broke back into the channel. Right now we are finding resistance on the top of this channel. We're coming down. It's really interesting to me though, because the daily is so oversold on the stochastic RSI. So I do anticipate a push to the upside. However, I don't know if this move to the downside is quite done yet. I see this 50 moving average on the daily still coming up. I think we got to test this one more time. I think that this just needs to be tested for support, and that would give us enough momentum with an oversold daily stochastic RSI to push to the upside, right? So that's what I'm anticipating. I still think that Bitcoin is in a bullish structure, though, mainly because we're putting in this bull flag that we're kind of in. So it's going to break from this and it's going to push to the upside. However, if we're looking at the macro, we are in what I consider to be a bearish parallel channel, right? We got, we're putting in higher highs and higher lows this entire way. That's why we haven't really gone below 24K since.
So let me get this right. It's a bull flag in a bearish channel.
Exactly. So, but here's the thing about that. This is good because we've been talking about this 34, 35K, level that needs to be tapped, right? I think that this is enough to push us to the top of that channel. And the top of this channel is what, 36,000. We don't necessarily need to hit the top of the channel. We can see that here we didn't hit it. I mean, I could even bring this down a little bit more so it like fits right there. We could say that 35 is where we're gonna, hit to. Maybe we don't even make it all the way up there. Again, the weekly is extremely overbought, if I remember correctly, or it's going to be overbought this week. So we could have the scenario where we break in the short term to the upside once we find some support down here, hit that liquidity zone up here, and then since we're in this bearish massive channel, this thing's going to break. And if you need any evidence where this is broken before something like that, we could look right over here. Right, this is Bitcoin back in January of 2022. It's putting in higher highs and higher lows. Eventually broke down. Does it need to break down as bad as this, where it was what, 57%? No, it doesn't need to do that as fast as it did. But I do think that it is going to be a pretty big break considering how long this channel has played out. I mean, this channel arguably is a lot shorter than the one that we are putting in here. This is similar to the one that Matic actually put in last year, where we went all the way to $1.58 for Matic, and then we finally broke down and went all the way down to 51 cents, right? Now it's trying to find some new channel, but for the most part, I think that this is what we're seeing here. And the problem I also see with this parallel channel is that the 50 and the 200 EMA are very close to each other. So, I mean, if we get a quick wig up to that 34, 35K, hit that liquidation point, and then we start breaking from this, that 50 is going to be so close to everything when it starts coming down. 200's right here. You're going to get the death cross. We have yet to get the death cross on the BTC USD pair, or USDT pair, my bad. So it'll be interesting to see if we do get that. I think that 29, what is that? 29, I'm looking at the weekly. We need to probably hit 29,221, if I'm reading that right, which is the 50 moving average. Tap that, give it a little kiss, and then we should be making our way to the upside, hopefully find this over the coming days, weeks, and that might be the end of this parallel channel. We probably have to break down at some point. That would be my guess. But again, anything could happen. XRP could become not even security, can be considered currency, and everyone will go fucking crazy and buy this shit to the end. But that's what I'm seeing with Bitcoin. Keep an eye on that. And the thing also you need to keep an eye on with Bitcoin is dominance. So if you've been following on Twitter, I've been posting that I'm still really bullish on BTC dominance. I think we had to find a little bit of a low here. We're currently under the 50 moving average on the daily, which is 50.20%. We're at 50.12% right now. And if we look at the weekly, take a look here, we can see that we still have some room to come to the downside. Worst case scenario, in my opinion, would be this line right here, 48.9%. Is it possible that Bitcoin dominance does drop there? Sure. What could happen? Well, maybe we go down to the point where we test that 50 moving average and people are moving into stables. And then, a lot of people are just bullish on like XRP. Maybe the settlement that we just saw that Judge Torres, who declared XRP not a security, maybe there's a settlement there and XRP pumps again. That dominance takes away from Bitcoin's dominance along with some of the alts. We see one last little pump, and then we find a true bottom for it on the weekly Bitcoin dominance, and then guess what? We got room to the upside. And this isn't like it hasn't happened before where we get rejected at this level and people start to think that Bitcoin dominance is over. People probably thought Bitcoin dominance was over here when it hit 44.81%, and next thing you know, it was all the way down here at 42%, and then it shot right up, right? We can also see it in years prior to where people think that maybe Bitcoin dominance is dead right around, say here. Maybe we got to 62%. People thought Bitcoin dominance was dead. A few months later, next thing you know, we're right back at it, even climbed even higher. So we need to keep an eye on this. I think a lot of people are still hoping that we are in a bull market in the beginning and Bitcoin dominance will come down so that alts will start to see a little bit of push up. I personally think that we're going to have to reclaim 52% to be considered out of this. And once we have 52%, I think we're coming right to here, 57%. So I think before you know it, maybe by, this fall, you might see Bitcoin trading above 57% dominance. That would be pretty bad for a lot of alts because obviously trading pairs would get decimated, and 57% Bitcoin, that means that maybe the money is flowing out of the total market cap, or maybe, you know, Bitcoin is just trading at a higher level and everything else is just, you know, absolutely getting devalued because of its high trading pair. So I'm definitely keeping an eye on Bitcoin dominance. I think the key here is reclaim 52%. Then you're going to go for 57%. And that would also line up with the move to 34 to 35K, in my opinion. Maybe the 57% comes once we hit that and we drop from there and everything starts to bleed out. And everyone's just like, okay, maybe we just believe in Bitcoin for the time being. Who knows? But that's what I'm saying with Bitcoin. I know there's a lot of stuff to take in, but
yeah, it feels like that could be one of those, you know, it gets up to 34, 35 for a hot second, and people move from, you know, they get on KuCoin or whatever trading platform they're using now, and get over to USDT, and we see USDT, you know, percentage take a run up, and then Bitcoin comes right back down. People start panicking, and that's when, you know, that BTC dominance goes from that 57 back down to 52 or whatever number
exactly
we're going to see at that point in time.
Yeah, totally. That's what I think the what would be in the cards. I'm not saying it's going to happen because clearly anything could happen in this market. I didn't expect fucking XRP to be declared not a security on Thursday morning when we were doing the show. It's the last thing on my mind. So, no, anything can happen, guys. Just be careful. The key is just to remain solvent at all costs, because being solvent and having cash flow allows you to buy time and hold your positions to a point where it's like, okay, I'm still right, but, you know, fucking idiots out here FOMO'd into everything right at the last minute, pushing the price up. It was a great short squeeze. Can't knock anyone down for that. But yeah, let's look at some of the other things, right? Because I want to look at a few altcoins just from what happens the other day. I said on Twitter, I think I put it on might have been the XRP or the total market cap chart, but I said that it's going to look like a wick on the weekly, that this is going to completely retrace. Went right to the 200 EMA for Matic, still in this parallel channel, came right back down. You're in the parallel channel. You closed the weekly in the parallel channel. Now you got a red week to start off here. You can see that the volumes were dying off. You got one push up, and look how low the volumes are here. You can't even see it below this little news icon that TradingView won't get rid of. But we're in the parallel channel, and we broke from it here. We broke from it here. We broke from one here, back down here. We broke from one here. And this is the big one I was talking about, right? This is the one that went all the way up to, what was it, 158? All the way down to 51 cents.
Hey, Kev, real quick.
Yeah.
On that note with the volume, and this is a nice little learning moment for me and maybe anyone who's watching who's getting accustomed to TradingView. I'm trying to get better at this. When you're adding the indicators, what volume one? Like I'm typing in volume under the indicators, metrics, and strategies. Which volume one? Is it like the volume oscillator, net volume, volume weighted average price?
Mine just
you happen to know that?
Mine just comes with it. It just says volume. Like I'm pretty sure when I signed up for the account, do you see this little thing right over here? Let me see if I can find it. Right here where it's got like the little arrow.
I don't see that on mine.
Maybe I'll try and figure it out for tomorrow's show so we could bring that up, just because I'm pretty sure that mine just came with the volume instantly. Like it's not even an indicator. Like I get like 3 free indicators or something like that. That's not even one of them I think that it's accounting for. I use the stochastic RSI, and then I think I had
like I figured I was able to get stochastic RSI on my TradingView now, so I got that, but I still don't have. I don't know. I'll mess around and figure out which volume one it is. And try to go from there.
Yeah, I'm actually not too sure. That's like one thing I probably should have I should know too. So my bad on that part. But
all good.
We can see that, you know, these parallel channels, these break, right? And the volumes are so extremely low. And we had one day where it pumped up an insane amount. And I think that's FOMO. Again, FOMO is one hell of a drug. We can see how it's, you know, absolutely playing a huge factor into TradFi markets right now. So when I see that we're in a parallel channel, we wicked above it and we got rejected from the 200 EMA on the daily. And next thing you know, we're closing the week back in the parallel channel. Well, then this shit's still valid to me. I honestly believe that. I think that the stochastic RSI is ready for us to come to the oversold. Maybe that brings us to the bottom of the channel and we just keep trading this for a period of time. I think that we are going to break from this. Maybe we go back to the origin, which I was saying, which is around 50 cents. I mean, that's a pretty good move from where we currently are. So obviously, I think time will tell. It's going to take some time. But I mean, if we look at Cardano too, or is it ADA? You know, did the same exact thing, shot right up to the 200 EMA, wicked above it a little bit, but then it came right back down. So these are just liquidation events. These are people that absolutely took the opportunity of high volume on the exchange to push up, wipe out, swaps for perps. And, I added to this pump here most likely when I had to close my positions because I'm obviously buying back the assets at a premium. So then the price is naturally going to go up too. So anyone who had shorts there, hope you had a higher liquidation level than me. But for the most part, I think that this is back in the channel, still valid for it to come down. I think Cardano is going to see a pretty good move to the downside. Again, I'm charting 18 cents around there, so like 22 to 18 cents for the break from this channel. It could take time. Obviously, I expect it to come down in waves, not just overnight in one red candle. Maybe it does. Who knows? But yeah, we can see that. This one scares me a little bit here. This is the total 3. It wicked right above it. We're right back in it, and we're coming to the oversold territory. We're going to be coming down over the next few days. We saw a little bit of red earlier during the show. It looks like it bounced back a little bit, but we could see on the weekly that we wicked up. We got rejected right there. 50's coming down. Here's the 200. We're in a parallel channel. This thing looks like it's going to break to me. I don't care what anyone says. We got low volume here ready to start the week. Stochastic RSI is going to be overbought fairly soon. Once we find that point where we're just going to get rejected, I think we're going to come down below 300 billion. We're currently at $351 billion in the total market cap of everything, excluding Bitcoin and Ethereum. So I think that alts are going to be in, going to get a rude awakening. And maybe that is in line with Bitcoin dominance going up, right? Maybe Bitcoin dominance gets to the point where it's like, okay, we were claiming 52%. Now we're going for 57. Bitcoin's trading at 34, 35K for a brief period of time. Next thing you know, you're just seeing all these alt pairs just bleeding out. And, that could be a massive break from here. I don't necessarily think that alts are in an alt season or they have any chance, not with this parallel channel here. I mean, if I look at, I'm going to pull up Solana right now. This is one that, has been insane, right? I just charted this on the weekly just to see what patterns we're building. And so what I'm seeing is an impulse of 535. So we got 5 waves that we got down, followed by 3 waves that we got as a corrective pattern. Then we got another 5 waves down from there. We got 3 waves up, which is where we currently are. And we can see it on the stochastic RSI, how overbought we are for Solana on the weekly, on the daily, and I think the monthly is even getting up there. Like, this is an insane amount of overbought territory that if you start in 5 waves, you got to end in 5 waves. I think you have another 5-wave move to the downside for Solana, right? And you got a massive gap that happened here. So a lot of these structures are still extremely bearish for these altcoins. So I'm not surprised that we're looking at the total market cap, total 3, and we got a wick above the parallel channel, and we're getting rejected from it, and we're putting in this parallel channel that's ready to break to the downside. There's just a lot of coins that look like crap, in my opinion. I'm not going to say which one specifically. Solana, you just saw, is one of them. That'll be the only little treat I'll give you. But for the most part, everything just looks like, it's ready to break from these parallel channels. And as history has shown, I can just go to Matic. Matic is probably the best one at this. These things break to the downside more likely than not. You have to let them play out. That's one thing for sure. We have to let these prices play out. But yeah, I think that people giving up on Bitcoin dominance, giving up on the prospect of Bitcoin going above 32K. I'm saying that for a lot of my bears out there who are bearish as possibly could be, and the fact that we keep getting rejected at 31, 32K around that range. I think that we're going to see one more liquidation event. It's going to push up. I don't think alts are going to follow Bitcoin in that liquidation event. I think it's going to be alts down, Bitcoin up, and dominance is just going to be so high that when it does fall, everything's going to fall underneath it. And that could be next month or two. I think a lot of my projections for when we're going to start seeing some really bad volatility in the market might be late September or October. That's just me giving out a date. I don't know if that's going to be reasonable, but that's just me being conservative. You need to see these structures play out, and you need to see how some of these things are going to, react to price volatility. And again, we are in a decentralized market technically, but for the same time, even if TradFi does decide to break at some point to the downside, I think confidence and a lot of things in the economy are definitely going to contribute to even more sell-off in crypto. So just keep an eye on that. I know it's a long-winded explanation for what I'm saying, but there is a lot happening here in crypto. You need to keep an eye on it. Obviously, earnings this week are going to be pretty important. Keep an eye on a lot of these bank stocks too. I think that's going to be really important going into the next few days. But for crypto, yeah, honestly, just low 49 bottom, 52% reclaim, 57% reclaim. You're going to start seeing a lot of these things start to come down. Bitcoin got to hit that 34, 35K though before we break down completely, in my opinion.
Okay, that'll do it, folks. Appreciate everybody for watching today, enjoying some of the Swiftenomics we discussed, some good charting, looking at the week ahead. Overall, great start to the week. Markets are looking strong on the TradFi side, kind of wavering on the crypto side, but a lot to happen. I'm very excited about pretty much all of it. It's gonna be great. So we'll be back tomorrow. Same time, same place. We're going to be looking ahead to some of these earnings that are coming out on Wednesday. We'll be live before the close of markets. That's going to be before Tesla and Netflix. We're going to look at some of the charts as they move into the end of the trading day there, what we're seeing, if they're breaking positive, if they're breaking negative. I'm not telling you how to trade that, but I think it's definitely worth looking at. So appreciate everyone once again. If you have not yet, down below, a lot of important buttons. We got the like, subscribe, drop us a comment, share us out on other social media platforms. It all helps us out a ton. We really do appreciate it. Randy, Ace, Mr. House, you guys being here day in and day out.
Thanks,
Thank you
guys.
so
Appreciate
much.
it.
Like I said, we'll be back tomorrow. Have an awesome day, everybody. See you next time.
Take care, everyone.